You're about to watch our next guest, Mitch Little. Mitch is a Texas attorney who took part in one of the most historic Texas trials. You see, Mitch was the defense attorney, or one of the defense attorneys, for Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. As many of you are aware, Ken Paxton was accused of many different improprieties and things of that nature, and the media presented a one-sided story. But I want you to hear it straight from Mitch's mouth. He gave us an explanation of different things. He allowed us to come into the back room, per se, and be able to see and hear some things that the media didn't cover. And I also want you to see the life of Mitch as a man of faith and as an attorney. I can't wait for you to see our next interview. We have our guest with us, Mitch Little, and he is a Texas attorney, but not just a Texas attorney. He is one of Ken Paxton, Texas Attorney General's defense attorney. Mitch, thank you so much for being here with us.
I'm so glad to be back with you.
Hey.
Thanks for inviting me.
Mitch has been on here before on the Teresa Lusk Show. We were talking about faith, but today we have a whole nother story.
Yeah, we do.
And listen, so many media outlets have been giving you misinformation, biased information, and so much more. But you, my friend, you get to get the story firsthand. And I want to show you a clip of Mitch Little while he was at the trial just a few weeks ago. So take a look.
True?
No.
You didn't have any loans in workout during COVID?
3.
3? 3 total for the bank?
Yes, sir.
All right, we're going to go one by one through them here in just a minute.
Okay.
You familiar with the CARES Act that prompted the PPP loans?
Objection, Mr. President. Relevance.
It's about to get real relevant.
All right, so Mitch, tell us, who is Ken Paxton? I think most of us know, but we want to set the tone here.
Yeah, Ken Paxton's the Attorney General of the state of Texas, still, praise God. And he's probably the most conservative, most effective Attorney General in the United States, but he's our Attorney General.
Did that have anything to do with the impeachment, everything that went on in Austin recently? Tell us a little bit about why he was impeached and why they wanted to do this.
Yeah, you got to understand that Ken Paxton is he's at the intersection of what is really an ongoing political war in the state of Texas between what I'll call moderate Republicans and the conservative wing of the Republican Party. There are a lot of moneyed interests on both sides, conservative and moderate Republicans, and Ken Paxton really, for moderate Republicans, stands in the way of progress. He is constantly pushing a conservative agenda, trying to achieve things for the state of Texas, trying to protect the sanctity of life, trying to protect gun rights, trying to secure the border, doing all the things that certain I'll call it factions or wings of the Republican Party are not super stoked about. So Ken Paxton is really a political problem for the moderate wing of the Texas legislature and the moderate lobby that pumps a lot of money into the state of Texas.
Wow. You know, I actually had a inclination a while back when all of this started, and I started to do some research on our Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, and I started to notice, you know what, his policies are very favorable for the true conservative.
That's true. He's as pure a conservative as you're going to find in Texas, which makes him a problem.
Okay. But there are a lot of people who are convinced that he really was guilty. And this was before the trial even began. Where did these people get any sort of evidence to even back that up? What was going on at that time?
Sure. I think what we're seeing in politics, not only in Texas but nationally, is the integration of Republican political opponents of the conservative wing with Democrats and the media, kind of working hand in glove. I'm sure you're seeing it. It manifests itself in different ways, but really the media served as the creator of the fuel for the impeachment. There was, obviously there were a lot of moderate Republicans who were interested in ousting Ken Paxton. They had the benefit of these supposed whistleblowers. I'm sure you saw some of their story during the trial. But the media took the information from the whistleblowers kind of as gospel, amplified it, and essentially narrated the impeachment up until the trial while the rest of us were under a gag order and couldn't talk about it at all. I was on your podcast before and couldn't talk about it.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember he actually came in, and I knew that he was going to be helping out and defending, but I was afraid to ask you because of the gag order. And I said, I better keep my line here, right here, and just respect those boundaries. You're making a point that's very interesting and yet very concerning, as I'm sure you have seen. The Speaker of the House was removed, right, and ousted. And you saw
the
that.
United States House yesterday.
Yes,
Absolutely.
But there's such a divide right now, and you're making that point about the different types of conservatives, Republicans.
Yeah, so I think what we're seeing on a national level is kind of an analog to what's happening in Texas, that people who would not normally be political bedfellows with one another are using one another as leverage to achieve their gains. In the United States Congress, it was the ultra-conservative wing of the Republican Party working with the Democrats to oust the Speaker. Regardless of your feelings about that, we had kind of the photo negative of that in Texas. Yeah. Democrats working with moderate Republicans to try to oust the conservative attorney general, working against the conservative wing of the party. It is truly a bizarre and surreal scene in Texas. I'm not terribly surprised about what's happening on the national level, but what is happening in Texas is surreal.
It's very concerning, though, because you see it happening even with President Trump. It's like this pattern that's happening. When I saw the news yesterday, it literally took my breath away. And I get concerned because you see what's happening here. You just lived it in a very, very real manner.
Sure.
How do we get back? How do we get back as we're dealing even with the Ken Paxton? We're going to get back to him. But this is a very important part because it played such a massive part in what you just witnessed and were a part of.
Yeah, I guess the answer to your question I'd answer your question with another question is, what do we want to get back to? So if we're looking to quote unquote get back to Republican Party alignment with one another, where we can all just get together and sing Kumbaya, I don't think that's ever going to happen in the way that it happens for the liberal wing of the Democrat Party. So Democrats have extreme alignment on almost every issue. They vote as a bloc. They support their speaker. What's happening in the Republican Party, in my own personal opinion, is we have a lot of Republicans who vote and behave like Democrats, and so conservatives find it very difficult to work with them. Wow. And sometimes those interests align, but a lot of times they don't. I mean, we can talk about funding for Ukraine. In Texas, we can talk about securing the border. There are issues where Republicans divide in ways that Democrats don't divide. And I'm not sure we're going back to anything. I think what we're seeing is a sea change in politics in Texas, where ultimately there has to be a groundswell, there has to be a movement of people from in the voters to elect people who are going to support the voters rather than make themselves famous in the building.
Wow, you're making such strong points, and I really want to get back to that. So we're going to be right back, my friends. I have a special announcement for you, so take a look. Hey friends, I'm Teresa Lusk with Execu Coach. I'm also the founder of Execu Productions, home of the Teresa Lusk Show. Listen, I have used a coach before. Coaches are very, very important for your life. I can tell you they can help transform your life and get you to a place of clarity, a place of vision, and a place of action. A coach can help you be able to discern between the mess and the true voice of this is the right path. So make sure you call me, text me, email me. I want to help you work through your process. I want you to grab a hold of things that are ready for now, for you to succeed, for you to advance. So what kind of issues can I help you with? What kind of goals, what kind of visions can I help you with? Well, it varies. I'm able to help you with women's issues. If you want to start a business, you want to run a ministry, maybe you just need to set some goals for your life. Maybe you want to write that book and you need someone to hold you accountable. Well, I'm here to serve you through Execu Coach. So be sure you reach out to us immediately. Friends, welcome back. You are watching the Teresa Lusk Show with Texas attorney Mitch Little. He was the defense attorney for our Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, and he's been giving us the rundown on so many great things. We've been talking a little bit about Ken Paxton and who he is and how this is playing a part federally and even state, in our state. So we were talking about getting back to something right before the break. You talked about, well, what is it that we're trying to get back to, and how Democrats don't divide the way that Republicans and conservatives do. And so as we look at the Ken Paxton trial and everything that happened, what was the goal for him by those who wanted him removed? What is really at the center of it? And was it done by these Republicans who are backing the Democrat Party?
Yeah, I think it's purely about naked power. How do we empty this position so that we can fill it with someone who will help us achieve our agenda? And I think the faction of the party that exists in the Texas House, there's no doubt it exists. It's led by the Speaker of the House, Dave Phelan. They would like to have someone in there who is more supportive of their agenda. And I think part of that story is to tell the story is to explain the schism between inside of the party at a statewide level. So you have a conservative governor, you have a very conservative lieutenant governor, you have a very conservative attorney general of the state of Texas, and in order for what I'll call the more moderate wing of the party to take over, they have to break that wall in some way. And I think that was primarily the goal.
Let's talk about the lieutenant governor, because I've heard some unfavorable, I guess you could say.
I don't know what you heard, but I can just tell you I'm a huge fan, having gone through this trial. Teresa, the real misconception about the trial, in my opinion, and things that have been said by the prosecutors after the fact, is that the trial was rigged. It was decided from the beginning.
Right.
Well, that would be news to me and the lawyers that I was working alongside. And I think, frankly, it would have been news to anybody in the courtroom, because we were all waiting on pins and needles to see what would happen. We had no inkling of what the outcome of the trial would be. Obviously, we had an effect on what the trial's outcome was, but we didn't know what the outcome was going to be. So Dan Patrick, over the course of that trial, he presided over a fair trial. He was kind. He was professional. He and his staff, his chief of staff, Daryl Davila, the lawyers who worked alongside him, they were prepared. They understood all the issues. I came out of the trial being a way bigger Dan Patrick fan than I was going in. And not that I wasn't one, it's just I didn't have any exposure to him.
Sure. Well, that's good to know, because there have been, before the show we were talking about how every time I would get on social media to watch some of the trial, there were the commentators who came from the clearly liberal media, and all they could say was negative things. But as soon as the defense attorneys were on, whether it was you or Tony Busby, you were tearing up the people that you were questioning, and you were seemingly supporting the facts and the evidence, and it was frustrating me, because I was thinking, this is where people come up with their own ideas that Ken Paxton must be guilty, when they hadn't even heard what was going on with the trial, the evidence, etc.
Yeah, it's very so. Teresa, during the trial, you got to understand, I'm in a bubble. I'm living in Austin, and I occasionally, I'm coming home. I talked to my wife at the end of the day. She's saying, "Man, I was watching the trial on WFAA. Those people are so annoying." And but I don't know about any of it, because I'm inside the bubble. I can only imagine what they were saying, and it's been the same things that the media's been saying for literally months leading up to the trial. So as we went into the trial, my goal was to make it as embarrassingly impossible to convict Ken Paxton as possible, knowing that you are going to have people on TV, calling the game for the home team, which is ultimately, that was their goal, to get him convicted. The media has a goal. They have an agenda alongside the Democrats and the moderate wing of the Republican Party.
I know sometimes that's hard to believe. I'll be honest with you. I used to have such a hard time believing that people really did want control. And the more I'm in this, the more I meet people, the more I'm saturated with some of these groups, and I'm going, oh my goodness, this becomes more and more true as I live this out. It's kind of scary.
Well, Teresa, the thing that you can't see behind the scenes is all the people, and I know this was going on for a fact because I either heard it firsthand or secondhand. All the people who were lining up to be the next Attorney General of this state while this trial was pending.
Oof.
And so when you view the problem through that lens, it really is an issue of naked power. That there's people who want more of it.
Well, nothing's changed in humanity, that's for sure.
No, certainly not.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing unusual.
What can we expect to see regarding the Texas Attorney General? And I'd like to know, how is he doing on a more personal level? Because I think people dehumanize people that are accused. And let me say this. I really believe that people have a right to be treated as human beings, regardless whether someone's guilty or not being accused. Just in the fact that when you are accused of something, I really believe people have a right to have their say-so, speak their mind. But, what do you expect that's going to happen, and how is the Attorney General doing?
Well, let me start with the second part first. I talk to him pretty regularly. I think this is the healthiest, happiest version of him I've seen in a long time. And I think what that translates to is an even more aggressive version of that same person, if that's even possible. But I think he's reinvigorated, re-energized to do the work. I mean, I'm not going to ask you or your viewers to put yourself in the situation that he was in, but you just got to understand the inevitable toll that takes on a person, feeling like you're surrounded, that everybody's against you. That was really my theme for the trial when it started. You come into the Senate and there are senators within arm's reach of you. They're behind me, they're all around us. On the other side they had what seemed like 40 lawyers probably. And you have this palpable sense of being surrounded, and you just have to fight your way out of it. And I feel like that's been the last several years for Ken Paxton. He's been surrounded, and he's had to fight his way out of it. And now he's got some daylight, and he can actually do the things he was hired to do by 4.2 million voters in the state.
I can't imagine that. I can't imagine being surrounded with that many people, with that many accusations.
Sure.
I can't imagine that. I mean, I've been through things, and trust me, I can only imagine. I caught myself praying for several people that I would see through the social medias.
Hope you were praying for me while you were watching this.
I was praying for you. Actually, I was praying for you because I watched you in action, and we're going to get back to that because I really want to talk about what how you handled this in just a bit. But my friends, I just want you to hang in there because I have a special message for you. Hey friends, I'm Teresa Lusk with Execu Coach. I'm also the founder of Execu Productions, home of the Teresa Lusk Show. Listen, I have used a coach before. Coaches are very, very important for your life. I can tell you they can help transform your life and get you to a place of clarity, a place of vision, and a place of action. A coach can help you be able to discern between the mess and the true voice of this is the right path. So make sure you call me, text me, email me. I want to help you work through your process. I want you to grab a hold of things that are ready for now, for you to succeed, for you to advance. So what kind of issues can I help you with? What kind of goals, what kind of visions can I help you with? Well, it varies. I'm able to help you with women's issues. If you want to start a business, you want to run a ministry, maybe you just need to set some goals for your life. Maybe you want to write that book and you need someone to hold you accountable. Well, I'm here to serve you through Execu Coach. So be sure you reach out to us immediately. Friends, welcome back to the Teresa Lusk Show, and I am here with our wonderful guest, Mitch Little. He is a Texas attorney and the defense attorney for our Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton. So we were talking right before the break. What can we expect to see regarding the Attorney General? We talked about his well-being. He's good. He's invigorated. He's ready to go out there and do his job, what he was voted in to do, which, by the way, as far as I understand it, he was voted in with quite a few votes. Like, people here wanted him.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I think he had almost 4.3 million votes statewide. So there were a lot of people who wanted him to be the Attorney General. There's no doubt about it.
Wow. So what can we expect to see regarding his future? You said you talk to him quite often.
Yeah.
What can we expect to see?
Gosh, so I don't know if you had a chance to see him on Tucker Carlson. That is pretty much my exposure to what he thinks his future is. Okay. And I think he's gonna keep everything on the table. I think that those were the words that he used. I think he's kind of at the peak of his ability to make political decisions going forward now, since he's been in office. So I don't know. It just remains to be seen. But he's going to have a lot of opportunities. There's no doubt about it.
Well, good. Well, one of the things that really caught my attention was when you were taking on the witnesses. And I've met you, right? And we've had a previous podcast, and we were talking about faith and the church and politics. A whole different man. Yeah,
different version of me. Yeah.
So I saw you, chime into the social media website or whatever it is, and I'm watching this man, and you're aggressive. You are on it, and you're questioning. In fact, I saw there was a clip where they said you were questioning too aggressively, and here's the clip. I want you to see it.
You made a complaint. Yes?
Yes, it was.
Without any evidence. Yes?
No.
I'm sorry?
Again, these are our good faith beliefs that a crime had occurred.
Respectfully, sir, we are not here in this historic event for your good faith beliefs. So if you could just tell these senators who are taking up their time and all of Texas's time with this impeachment.
Excuse me. These sidebar testifying comments are an inappropriate form of cross. If you just asked a question, I have no objection.
I will throttle it down. I withdraw it.
Pull that back.
Okay. So we just got to see you in action. That was intense. It was fun. It was intense. What was happening in that moment?
So, well, let me go back a step, okay? So you have to understand, I've been practicing law almost 20 years. What was happening in the Senate is unlike anything I've ever experienced, and if anyone tells you that they've ever experienced anything like it, they're lying, because no one living has ever done that job besides when we did it. So I'm going up there to cross-examine the first witness that I cross-examined in week 1, and I come up to the podium, and we're coming out of a break, and Dan Patrick's going to reconvene. He's going to reconvene the trial. And my first thought, I promise you, I'm not lying about this, my first thought is I am not here right now.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, it truly was an out-of-body experience. And then I just was like, I'm going to do what I always do. And
Amen.
Then I just forgot where I was. And so when you see me just kind of going off on that guy, or you see me just being aggressive, I'm imagining that I'm somewhere else.
Wow.
And the rest is history, as they say. But yeah, it was a very unusual set of circumstances, a very bizarre moment. You have people in the gallery watching from the public. You have a horde of media inside there. And I just decided there's only 2 people in this courtroom. It's me and that guy.
Well, it was powerful. I actually was praying for you because I saw the things that you were having to face, and I was praying for several people in there. Just, my heart went out to them. I know what it's like to have to face hard things, so
yeah, sure.
I can't imagine having to do it with everything that you just described. I mean, I do public speaking, and even that sometimes makes you go, I can't imagine having to have literal enemies, really, because that's what you were facing.
Yeah, and the thing that Dan, so at the end of every day, I took Dan Cogdell, one of my co-counsel. He's a brilliant lawyer, and his associate Anthony, also a brilliant lawyer. I was taking him back to their hotel at the end of every day. We'd go down the parking garage and drive back, and we were remarking about the day's events. And I said, you know what? I said, this is different from a normal trial in a lot of ways. And I said, but the main way for me is everyone that we're putting on the witness stand is trained to beat us. Ooh. They're all lawyers.
Wow.
They're lawyers, they're law enforcement. And so this was really the ultimate test. Like, if I had to draw one up, I couldn't draw up a more difficult test.
Wow. This has been such a historical trial. Like you said, none like it.
Yeah.
how has it changed you as a person? Let's start there. What did it do to you? What's different? What's different from the Mitch that walked in there to the Mitch that we know today?
Yeah, really good question. I have not thought about that a lot. It hasn't changed me as a person. So I want to take you back to like maybe Tuesday or Wednesday of the first week of the trial. I just felt like palpable spiritual attack through the whole thing. And so I'm getting ready every morning, get dressed. I go by Starbucks, get some tea. On the way there, I'm driving to the Capitol, and I'm listening to worship music every morning. I'm trying to just calm myself down as you're getting through this. So the whole thing was really an exercise in faith, because there was nothing we could do to control the outcome. This is not a normal jury. Like if you had a case and you hired me, we could go down to Collin County, we could have a jury trial. You're going to have a dozen strangers who don't know you. I'm going to try to persuade them. I'm going to put on evidence. That was not what this was. There were the most powerful political figures in our state who were deciding the case. And so you're like, the doubts you're having is, are they persuadable? Have they already made up their mind before I walked in there? What's important to them? Does this even matter? And so the place where I just got was to a place of just surrendering it. I was just like, I'm going to go do what I would do in any other trial, and God's going to have to take care of the rest of it.
That's so good, though. That's so good, Mitch, because we're talking about, again, something historical, something big. You just elaborated on the difference, which is it's not a normal case. You're talking about the most powerful people in our state that can cause this to go either way.
Yeah, that's really true.
But I want to point to your humanity, because we can look at you as a professional, as an attorney. I introduced you as Mitch Little, the attorney. But you're Mitch the man, the child of God. So now you're bringing in your faith, and you're saying, I had to depend on this. I was listening to worship music. That's such a comforting thing to hear, to be honest with you. And I think our viewers probably are going to appreciate this. We need to hear this, that you faced something intense, hard, and what did you do? You reached into your faith. You could have said, I know somebody, I know this other person, and you could have counted your win ahead of time. But there was such a humbling surrender that is evident. Yeah, so
I'll tell you kind of the story from the end of the trial. So after we had closing arguments and they're going to start deliberations, we're going, some of the lawyers are going out to lunch. We're just trying to decompress, loosen our tie a little bit. And I texted my wife later that night and I said, Kelly, I'm feeling afraid. Wow. And she responded back, she said, I know, I am too.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, that's really not what I was looking for in that moment. But, so the next day as we're going in there, jury's coming in, and I talked to one of the other lawyers on our team who shall remain nameless, and I said, hey, so-and-so, do you ever feel afraid when this is going to happen anymore? He says, every single time. And so I think it's a normal spectrum of feeling for not only a lawyer, Christian, whatever it is that you're doing from a professional standpoint, to feel the fear and just have to kind of push through it anyway.
So good, though, so good. I appreciate you being transparent, because people need to hear this. That even people who have gone to high places, far places, this is real. Wherever you are, wherever you are in life, whatever you have been facing, this is real right here.
I think everybody in there was afraid. I think the senators were afraid, the witnesses, the parties, their lawyers. I don't know, maybe Dan Patrick wasn't afraid.
Oh, I don't know about that. So everybody was just kind of like...
we were all just kind of waiting to see what was going to happen.
Wow. Yeah. So what's in your future? Did anything change? What are we doing here?
Well, I'm talking to you instead of being at the office working.
Thank you.
A lot of, rightfully so, a lot of people are really interested in this case and what happened, what it means, what, the behind the scenes of it. So I'm enjoying talking to people about that. But you know what, Teresa, there's just a lot of people who need legal help. And so I'm working cases just like I was before I started that. And I don't know what the future holds, but I know that it's good. whatever it is.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Here's what I know. I think that when God has given you that anointing, that calling for something, you do well at it when you do it right, according to His will, to His righteousness, and that's really good. And you said something. You said there are a lot of people who are looking for legal help.
Yeah.
So glad we have you, Mitch.
Yeah, I'm one person.
There
who
you
can
go,
do that.
one person. Yeah. So, what else would you like to let our viewers know? Are there key? Is it worth even coming back to talk about key players that were in the trial? Is that something that's important? What is important that the public knows? Because there's a lot of misinformation, accusations. We talked about this before. We said even I have had people say, "I know he's guilty." The trial hadn't even begun. So as we get close to closing this interview, are there things, key player names, anything?
Yeah, there's so much stuff, Teresa, that happened behind the scenes that nobody knows about. Mm-hmm. What you're seeing after the conclusion of the trial is, so here's how I thought things were going to go. The trial concludes. I went over, extended my best wishes to Rusty Hardin and Dick DeGuerin, two really fine lawyers. Mm-hmm. And I thought what was going to happen was, okay, now this is over, and everybody's going to kind of graciously terminate all of these hostilities. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until a week after the trial, I get up on Saturday morning and I realize, all the prosecutors are on a panel at the Texas Tribune in Austin talking about why they lost the case. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I'll bite. I wasn't invited. Let me hear what they have to say. So the prosecutors are getting up there and saying, well, the fix was in from the beginning. And goodness. In other words, we're still really great, and there was still a mountain of evidence, but there was nothing anyone could have done to win the case. And that made me mad. And what's been happening the last few days, you may have seen yesterday, some of the managers from the House Board of Managers released some documents that some of which were in evidence, some of which weren't, saying, well, we just ran out of time, otherwise we would have put on this evidence too. And which isn't true. They didn't run out of time. There was still a ton of time on the clock that they could have presented in their case in chief, so it's not true. Media, once again, credulously repeating and retweeting everything that they say. They released the Attorney General and his wife's home address in Austin as part of that process. They said, well, there were certain witnesses we weren't allowed to call. It's not true. They never even attempted to call them. And so what you're seeing are, in my view, you're seeing the last dying breaths of a group of political saboteurs who know that their political future is changing, and they'll do whatever they have to do to try to change their fortunes. And Teresa, this is something your viewers need to understand. So while the House Board of Managers was still in their case in chief, meaning they're still trying to prove that Ken Paxton is guilty in that phase of the trial before they rest, there were 3 separate attempts by the House managers to call their own lawyers to the witness stand to testify as to what they thought the facts were. Wow. So I just kind of let that sink in for a minute. Not people who knew what the facts were and were testifying based on personal knowledge, but 3 separate lawyers that they tried to call to the witness stand to say, oh, well, I've reviewed the documents and here's what I think happened. Like, on what planet?
Why?
Like, in what country? In what state? So it was at that point when they started trying to call these people, I turned to Tony Busby, who's really a very amazingly gifted lawyer and a good friend, and I said, we won this case. And he's like, well, why do you say that? I was like, they're trying to call their own lawyers to the witness stand. They know they don't have it. And so all of these things that are happening after these aftershocks are just, I guess, evidence of the initial failure to convict him and the inadequacy of their case. And now they're trying to make a public case, and the media is trying to help them. Dallas Morning News, Austin American Statesman, Houston Chronicle, WFAA, they're trying to make a public case for something that just doesn't exist. And, I'm glad to be on your show. I enjoy visiting with you. Those people ask me for comments and interviews all the time, and I just tell them no, because I'm never going to be able to be heard as far as what happened. They're not interested in that.
That's right.
They write the story, and then they try to put quotes in it that support whatever story they want to tell. So it's not happening.
Well, that's why I do what I do, because I want truth to come forth.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But right now, my friends, I want you to hang in there, because I have another special message for you. Hey friends, I'm Teresa Lusk with Execu Coach. I'm also the founder of Execu Productions, home of the Teresa Lusk Show. Listen, I have used a coach before. Coaches are very, very important for your life. I can tell you they can help transform your life and get you to a place of clarity, a place of vision, and a place of action. A coach can help you be able to discern between the mess and the true voice of this is the right path. So make sure you call me, text me, email me. I want to help you work through your process. I want you to grab a hold of things that are ready for now, for you to succeed, for you to advance. So what kind of issues can I help you with? What kind of goals, what kind of visions can I help you with? Well, it varies. I'm able to help you with women's issues. If you want to start a business, you want to run a ministry, maybe you just need to set some goals for your life. Maybe you want to write that book and you need someone to hold you accountable. Well, I'm here to serve you through Execu Coach. So be sure you reach out to us immediately. Well, friends, we are back with Texas Attorney Mitch Little. He was a defense attorney for our Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton. He's been giving us the download on a lot of information that the media has not been honest about. You know, I would get on there and start watching the social media impeachment trial, and the commentators were going at it, saying their own opinion. They were negative. It was hard to sit back and watch it. And I believe it was the same news outlet that you've mentioned. I don't want to, say for sure, but I'm pretty sure it was the same one. It's very frustrating because I thought, first of all, it insults my intelligence. And I really, at the Teresa Lusk Show, one of the greatest goals is to educate. I want individuals, Americans, to become educated, learn to do research. I dropped out of school in the 8th grade.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, learning is an absolute necessity.
Yep.
So I don't like people telling me how to think. I want to make up my own mind, and it is important to do research. So through this trial, because I think it affects a lot, not just our state, our nation. We see a lot of things that connect. So what can you tell our viewers as we close about what they need to do, not just regarding this trial, but how about becoming Americans who really take pride in being intelligent, informed, doing research that goes both ways, not just the Dallas Morning News said this and so said that. What do you say? Yeah,
so I don't really know when this happened. I'm sure someone who's more of a media expert than I am, maybe you, can explain this, but at some point in time, there really is a shift in the media from telling us what happened to telling us what to think about what happened.
Yeah.
And that was on full display during this trial. Anybody can go on and watch the trial. It's just it's a raw live feed.
Yeah.
And you're having people, I guess, provide commentary that have diametrically opposed views about the subject matter that everybody can go and watch for themselves. I think what I would encourage people to do, just go and read, watch, listen, learn for yourself. Don't drink information through the filter that the media puts on it.
That's right.
I'm trying to remember who told me this, and I believe it's true. Believe none of what you read and only half of what you see. And I really think it is true when it comes to information, especially political information.
Yeah.
So go and do the research for yourself. Go and find out what the truth is, because you're just not going to get it in the news. There's no truth in the news. There's no news in the truth.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. They are telling you what to think. Even the news outlets that I listen to, which are more conservative, I still don't like it when they tell me what to think. Give me the facts, the information.
Right.
Sometimes they're not facts, they're information. So I have to pull it out for myself. Mitch, it's been such a pleasure to have you on, and a true honor. I know that you've had many opportunities to appear in the media, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell your side of the story of what happened, and hopefully people will listen and understand that this is a time to gain some wisdom and to stop trusting what everybody says. Like you said, go get the raw footage, go see it. It's out there.
Yeah, that's true.
Make up your own mind, you know, and I think unless we have actually watched the whole thing, I would say you don't get to opinionate. That's the truth.
Well, it's important to go and watch what actually happened.
There you go.
Yeah, because depending on who you read, the stories are going to be very different.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see what is in the future for you, because I think you are an amazing attorney. I watched you in action. I was very proud of you. I said, I know Mitch. There's Mitch. You know, I took a little snippet of it and everything. I sent it to somebody. I said, this is Mitch. I had him on the show.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so I really appreciate it.
I really enjoy being on your show, and I'm happy to come back anytime.
Thank you. We will have you back for sure. So there you have it, my friends. Mitch Little. Tell us where they can find you, because we want to make sure that anybody who needs you has access.
Absolutely. You can find me at Real Mitch Little on Twitter or X. You can find me I'm at the law firm of Sheaf & Stone. We're at www.solidcounsel.com.
There you go, my friends. Now you know how to get a hold of Mitch. Thank you so much for watching. God bless.